Uh, Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, May the 5th, 2021. I say, looks as if the lockdown's getting slacker all the time. It's really good the way things are operating. We're in the story of Elijah. We're looking at Elijah, the prophet. He's called the fiery prophet. Elijah's name means Yahweh is my God. And as usual, the prophets, just to recap a bit, he comes in usually whenever the nation's is going wrong. And it was very, very wrong here. Ahab was the king, very wicked. Jezebel was his wife, a worshipper of Baal, who killed as many prophets of God as she could. She meant to wipe out God completely and put Baal and Ashtaroth in that position of authority. Of course, they're false gods, evil. The Lord wouldn't have it. So along comes Elijah. Elijah's a bit like they say with a proper meaning, like a lone ranger coming in, sorting things out. One man, one prophet came in and was sorting things out. Fantastic. And as usual, what God done, God sent a reminder to say to the children of Ahab and to the children of Israel who he was. I say in this worship they worshipped a god of fertility, a god of the land, etc., etc. Terrible things, terrible suffering, terrible killing of babies, etc., so forth, human sacrifices, the lot. And of course, God got the attention of Abraham and of Ahab. Sorry, as that for 3 years the land was in a drought, complete drought. Now, of course, Elijah was put away more or less off scene while the drought took effect. And of course, Ahab would now listen. Everybody was looking for Elijah. He was the most wanted man in Israel at that time. I say there's probably, if you could do it, wanted posters everywhere looking for him because Ahab looked as if he was the source of all his trouble. Of course, it was Ahab was the trouble. So we're in 1 Kings chapter 18. It says, after a long time, the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year. Go and present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the surface of the land. So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. It says here, it's at the end of verse 2, it says, and the famine was severe in Samaria. Now, wow, you can't even imagine this. It turned from a drought, no rain, no dew, no crops, of course, animals dying, everything, and a famine that would be unbelief. You know, things was getting very, very rough. And in comes this other character in our story now of Obadiah. So Ahab called Obadiah, who was in charge of the palace. Now, Ahab's palace, they say it was actually made of marble everywhere, and it was really wealthy looking. And this guy here, Obadiah, is more or less the guy in charge of the palace, but like a prime minister, but like official. This guy comes in on the scene here, and it says he was a man who greatly feared God. So can you imagine working close to Ahab, seeing Ahab, Jezebel every day, hunting, seeing prophets, seeing people being killed, and you loving the Lord? A total, must have been terrible for him, But he feared the Lord, which was good. And he took, it says here, verse 4, he took 100 prophets and hid them 50 to a cave and provided them with food and water. And Jezebel slaughtered the Lord's prophets. And Ahab said to Obadiah, go through the land to every spring of water and to every wadi. Perhaps we'll find grass so we can keep the horses and mules alive and not have to destroy any cattle. And then terrible, he thought more of the cattle and had more of the horses than he did of the people. They divided the land between them in order to cover it, and Ahab went one way by himself and Obadiah went the other way by himself. While Obadiah was walking along the road, Elijah suddenly met him. Can you imagine this? The most wanted man in all of Samaria, walking along the road, and Ahab coming the other direction, and they spots each other, and what happens, And Elijah suddenly met him. When Obadiah recognized him, he fell on his face to the ground and said, "Is it you, my lord Elijah?" In a great way, this man recognized Elijah who he was. He feared him too, you know. "It is I," he replied. "Go tell your lord Elijah I am here." I say sometimes I think this wee bit's quite humorous, you know. But Obadiah said, "What sin have I committed that you're handing your servant over to Ahab to put me to death?" Wow, what's the reason for this? "As the Lord your God lives, there is no nation or kingdom where my Lord has not sent someone to search for you." I tell you, they wanted him. It's good to be wanted by the dark. You know, the darkness after you. I always keep thinking of a friend of mine's, a very loved Christian who was studied a lot at Mormonism, and he lived in Northern Ireland. And this guy, I'm not mentioning his name here, but this guy even formed a bookshop and a Christian centre. And you know the interesting thing, in Salt Lake City is the headquarters of the Mormon Church. Every so-called missionary that came to Northern Ireland, they were warned about this guy. Don't ever speak to him because he's a bad man. He'll hurt your faith. It's not a wonderful thing that this guy was most feared away in Salt Lake City because he brought a lot of people from the Mormonism to the Lord, which was brilliant. It's good to study different cults, you know. I always like to see maybe someone in the fellowship studying Jehovah's Witnesses or studying Freemasonry or studying the Mormons, so that you've always got that person there that is able to go and answer questions, of course, and it's good to see that. Sometimes it's lacking a lot, you know, the people studying things like that. It's good to study things like that so you know where you stand. Anyway, so it says here, he was feared that it would put him to death, right? "As the Lord your God lives, there's no nation and kingdom where my Lord has not sent someone to search for you." And when they said he's not here in that kingdom or nation, they swear they not find you. "Now you say, go and tell your Lord that Elijah's here, and when I leave, the Spirit of the Lord may carry you off to some other place I don't know. And when I go to report to Ahab and he doesn't find you, he will kill me." Man was living in total fear. Total fear. "But as I, your servant, have feared the Lord from my youth, wasn't it reported to my Lord that what I did when Jezebel slaughtered the Lord's prophets? I hid 100 of the prophets of the Lord and 50 into caves, and I provided them with food and water. And now you say, go tell your Lord, Elijah's here. He'll kill me." You know. And Elijah said, "As the Lord your host lives, before whom I stand, today I will present myself to Ahab." Wow, what a confrontation this was going to be now. The most wanted guy was going to walk into the palace and say, "Could I speak to Ahab, please?" No, he didn't even call him king. He didn't. Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "Is it you, you destroyer of Israel?" My, isn't it good to blame somebody for the Lord's work sometimes? And the terrible, it's everybody else's fault but his, you know. But do you think that Elijah let him off with that statement? Not at all. And I really admire the way Elijah spoke up here. He replied, "I have not destroyed Israel, but you and your father's house, because of your abandon of the Lord's commands and following after Baal. Now, challenge goes out. And this is a big challenge goes out, and we'll look at it next week. He said, we're going to sort this out. Now, summon all of Israel to meet me in Mount Carmel, along with 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Ashtoreth who eat at Jezebel's table. Challenge is out. Let's sort things out. So Ahab summoned all the Israelites and gathered the prophets at Mount Carmel. And Elijah approached all the people and said, "How long will you hesitate between two opinions? If Yahweh is God, follow him, and if it is Baal, follow him." But the people didn't answer him a word. We'll just leave it there. Exciting next week to see what happens. God bless you all. Bye.